His picture tells the story. No shoes, no food, no shelter. In the scorching sun, he walks around barefooted, begging for alms. Barely 9 years old, Amino has had to learn the intrigues of survival on the major streets. If these basic needs of life are so far from him, then talking about school may just be a notion too far to even dream of.
Karatu. Mumbaro gira, muna bara. Ka zo karatu ne? Muna bara. Ina ka yi kyau haka? Allah jiri kenan mai swaga. Ka zo ka zama ne? Bara ne. Kalla. Ko ce sura. Malami. Malami? Malami allo? Me yasa? Boko. Baka so ka zama likita ko police ko soja. Me yasa sai maka karatun allo shine zai kai mutum aljanna. Karatun allo shine zai kai mutum aljanna.
He is from Katsina, he tells AD4 TV radio, orphaned by insecurity and armed bandits. He has followed all the king's men down to Abuja in search of safety and greener pasture. It is no choice of his to be in this situation, but the failure of a government that has not lived up to its constitutional responsibility of providing security and basic education, with huge sums of money released annually to ensure this, yet without results.
When I compare what the private sector is doing, we have the APEN schools, which is the Association of Private Educators. We meet all the time. And when you go to the schools and you see the quality of provision, it cannot be compared. The quality of the output also cannot be compared. In every country, you focus on the child. You really don't say I'm private, I'm public. Though we realize that a majority of, in every nation really, majority of the children from maybe the lower income will go to the government schools. But at the end of the day, our focus should be on the Nigerian child. So when we are focusing on the Nigerian child, we now say that we are interested in intervening in both the public sector and the private sector as well.
The most perplexing part of the 9-year-old Amino story is that this child of school age, who should be in the classroom with his peers, is out here thriving to fend for himself in order to survive. A clear violation of his rights and privileges as enshrined in the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And this is happening in Abuja, Nigeria's Federal Capital Territory, perceived by many as the land of milk and honey. Why not? That's where the president himself and all the cabinet members are. After all, if Amino cannot afford to be given education by the government right where the two ministers of education and the education headquarters are, what more of millions of other school-age children across Nigeria? Amino's case is just one out of millions of cases of children who are out of school in Nigeria.
Katsina. Karatu. Ngo sabo. Masaka. Masaka? To ya ga fito ne ma abinci ba da ka zo karatu. Ya kana ka da kwano. Bara ne. Bara. An sa ku ne ko dai? An samu ne. Sai yanzu ba ku ci abinci ba sai ka zo ka bara. Muna cin abinci. Aina. Sai kun samu haka sai ku ci. Karatu me kake yi? Karatu me kake yi? Allo. Allo? Ka kai mu wani karatu. Me ka koya? Kai karatu da ka sani. Ni karatu. Kai alhamdulillah. Ko wace ka kai. Kai alhamdulillah. Alhamdulillah rabbil alamin arrahman arrahim maliki yawmiddin iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in sirat eh mama da baba nasu suna gida ana so ka gansu sai yaushe eh ka faɗi kana so ka ganin su sai yaushe sai da aka maida mu gida sai da aka maida mu gida.
Just recently, the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization, UNESCO, updated its statistics to say Nigeria now has 20 million out-of-school children, according to the latest global data. Even though this is under contention that the figure is only 18.5 million, UNESCO maintains 20 million. According to UNESCO, a new and improved methodology was applied to arrive at the latest figures, adding that there are 244 million children and youths between the ages of 6 and 18 worldwide who are still out of school. According to this data, India, Nigeria, and Pakistan have the highest figures for out-of-school children globally. The figures in Nigeria had oscillated between 10.5 million and around 15 million for more than a decade, with the situation growing worse due to the degenerating security situation in the country. UNESCO announced the figures in a statement issued on the 1st of September this year, with a copy made available to Premium Times by Dafalia Dimitra, a media specialist with the Global Education Monitoring Report, which is developed by an independent team and published by UNESCO. What then is the implication of these on Nigeria?
Think of 20 million children that don't have enough skills to make a living. Think of 20 million children that don't have the right orientation about humanity. Think of 20 million children without hope for their future. Think of 20 million children that will not contribute anything meaningfully to the Nigerian economy. Think of 20 million children that wake up with hunger in their belly every morning, and they never have the hope of any day that this will go away. And think of what these children will do in order to survive. And think of these 20 million children growing up to have children of their own in that particular situation. Then you know what the implication of this for the country is. These are the children that are easily brainwashed and recruited into criminal organizations, like the terrorists we have today, like the banditry, armed robbery, cultism, and all of this. These are children, they are vulnerable to such organization. They are easily recruited. They are easily brainwashed because they don't know much. You have to just give them a little skewed knowledge, and then you can harden their mind against what is right, against morality, and then they become merciless killers. They become ruthless criminals. They become wicked kidnappers. So that is the gravest aspect of having this much number of uneducated people. The other aspect of it is the fact that they will not be contributing anything to the economy. They will not be contributing meaningfully to the economy, and the economy will have to take care of them and the possible crimes that they will commit. So the implication for the country is enormous. As it is always said that no nation can grow above the education of its people. This is what we are talking about. When education is low, when children are not educated, they cannot contribute positively to the economy. They are going to drag the economy backwards. So it is important for every government to take it upon itself for children not just to go to school, but to have meaningful education. And it is buried there in the philosophy of Nigerians' education. One of the key philosophy which I always mention, it's a low-hanging fruit. It states that education should empower the child to equip the child to become self-reliant, and to also contribute positively to the society in which he lives. So you see, without education, the individual is not empowered to be reliant, self-reliant. And if the individual can't be self-reliant, how can the individual contribute positively to the society in which he lives? So these and more are the implications of having 20 million children, or more than 20 million children out of school, with more to fall out.
UNESCO said the report gives the most accurate and comprehensive measure of the number of children and young people excluded from education. Of course, 9-year-old Amino here in Abuja falls under this figure, which is under contention between 20 million to 18.5 million out-of-school children, whom experts describe as a clear case of corruption and lack of political willpower by the government to correct.
Every country that is doing well today did not get well or get where they are by accident or by prayer or by wishful thinking. They thought it ahead. They strategized on how to get it done, and they got to work getting it done. Over the years since independence, have we had concerted effort to even account for the people that are giving birth to within our confines? We can't even account. You see, somebody will die for 4 years and nobody notices. That's because the system has no way of accounting for its populace. And where you cannot account for the number of people that are born, you cannot even stratify according to age grade and even begin to put infrastructure in place to provide education for them. So all the time we are throwing blows in the dark without aiming at anything. And when the noise is too much, we will take a big chunk of money, throw it into the sector, and we hope that it gets better. It doesn't get better that way. The countries that are doing okay in this area made concerted effort. They figured out the number of people in each category. They figured out the needs of these people, and they put infrastructure in place enough to take care of these issues. And they follow up with it over a long period of time. Now it looks like democracy even made our situation a bit worse. Yes, it is always said that the worst form of democracy is better than dictatorship. Now, but the problem also is when you run democracy in the way that we run it here, where it is all about the person currently in power, there is no national agenda to be followed and upon which people are elected, then you see that every government comes up with their own program. There is no continuity. So no matter how good the previous administration's programs were, the new administration will abandon them to start something new. Whether that thing is better than this or even as good as the one on ground, they don't care. And you see, over the past 6-7 years, I've been telling Nigeria, both on social media and in real life, I say, please stop saying this person didn't start this project. Because it is that thing that you are saying that will make the next president abandon what this president have done and go and start other new things and will not have enough time to finish it until he leaves. Government is a continuum. In fact, we should be edging towards forcing every administration to complete every infrastructure that a previous administration has put money into. Because when they put money into it and they don't complete it for us to use, it's money wasted. So there is no continuity in governance. There is no well thought out and well outlined national agenda for us. We don't have any strategic plan that every Nigerian knows that, okay, this is where the country is going. So when I'm going to vote for a person, the person should demonstrate to me how well he understands that agenda and what he is going to do to help us move closer to our target and objective as time goes on. There's no such thing. So over the years, we have been doing trial and error here and there, trial and error, or throw money at it, or pay lip service to it. At the end of the day, people are giving birth every year, and the number is increasing. You go to some rural schools now, you will see more than 50 children jam-packed into one small mud house. Some of them sitting on the floor, some standing. How can anybody learn in such environment? According to the Constitution, several different aspects of the education system has been bequeathed to different tiers of the government. The federal government has a lot to do at the tertiary level. The state government has the secondary and the primary and pre-primary in their confines. What are the different state governors doing about schools? It is not enough to build classrooms. It is also important that you build the curriculum. This administration came up with a school feeding program with the aim of attracting children to school, which worked to some extent, but when you attract them, how do you keep them? If you keep them, how do you give them something that will help them to begin to contribute to the society as they go on? These were not properly thought out. So it's another case of throwing money at problems again. And even the school feeding program is almost failing, because in most of the schools, the people charged with this responsibility have no way of being monitored. So they may come to the school once or twice in the whole term, and nobody says anything. In fact, they give them the money in the middle of the month, in the middle of the term, and the food item they claim that they will share, sometimes it will come, sometimes it will not come. You give somebody 70,000 to feed 90 students for 3 months. In this economy, how is that going to work? So you see, these things are inadequate, and the people who are supposed to supervise these people know that it is grossly inadequate. Even the heads of the school know that it is grossly inadequate. So at the end of the day, these programs are not working. If we want to get out of this quagmire, we need to sit down, draft a proper document, and understanding who we are and our tendency to not do what we sign up to do, come up with the monitoring aspect that is strong enough to ensure that people get things done. Monitoring is our problem. Once you set implementation going on, monitoring should be strong enough to ensure that everybody does what they are expected to do.
By the above statistics, the Global Organization on Education Monitoring Report said the team developing the report has the official mandate of monitoring progress and meeting the Sustainable Development Goal on education as enshrined in SDG 4. The statement says the new estimates by UNESCO Institute for Statistics and the Global Education Monitoring Report show that sub-Saharan Africa remains the region with the most children and youths out of school, with 98 million children and young people excluded from education. It is also the only region where this number is increasing. Out-of-school rates are falling more slowly than the rate at which the school-age population is growing. But the major cause of concern is, if Nigeria now hits 20 million out-of-school children, and the likes of Amino and his peers, who by circumstances are forced out of their homes to Nigeria's Federal Capital Territory, and yet cannot afford the basics of life, talk more of education, then there is a clear case of violation of his rights as a child by the very government who signed into law the Child's Rights Act with the following clauses: right to health, protection from harm, right to identity of person, right to education, which is our cause for concern. This, therefore, indicates failure, nonchalance, lack of interest by the government at all levels to secure the future of its nation by educating the children. All summed up in one word: corruption.